I read recently that the oldest yellow cedar tree known is 1,835 years old. And it was discovered in Clearcut in the 80s. And like, imagine what that tree saw. Thank you for coming out to my studio. My name is Carey Newman. My traditional name is Hayals Kingame. I come from the Kwakwaka'wakw, Giksam, and Wawallabai clans of the Kwakwaka'wakw Nation, which is on the northern end of Vancouver Island, as well as from Chiam of the Stala Nation, which is Coast Salish territory along the Upper Fraser Valley. That's from my dad. And on my mom's side, I'm English, Irish, Scottish settler stock from Saskatchewan. So I guess about 5 years ago, I was working on a really large pole in this shop. And it was one that we cut down in the forest. It's the first time I ever saw the tree that I'd turned into a totem go from the forest all the way through the process of becoming a totem. During the search for that tree, it became apparent how rare they are now and how difficult they are to find. And while I was carving it, even though like I have a deep love for working on like a really beautiful old tree, I sort of started to realize that there was a conflict in the ethos of what I was doing, right? Like I spent a good deal of my youth fighting to protect old growth forests, and in working on that one, I was seeing the contradiction, that I was cutting them down to make profit. I will still carve old growth for community, for ceremony, but anything that's for a private collector or for a corporation or for public artwork, I'm looking for new methods. I still want it to be cedar. I don't want to sacrifice the scale. I don't want to have to make skinny totems or make them out of plastic or something that's not connected to the tree of life, right? I've been working on a few different ideas about how to bring those old traditions into contemporary ways, and maybe a little bit lead by example for industry, for policymakers, to show that there still can be an economy attached to forests, but that it doesn't have to always be from the sacred and the nearly extinct. So yeah, this is my model, and I'm working on putting together an apparatus or a machine that will be able to hold those timbers on the end and rotate the log, the form together while I'm carving on them. Because when I'm working on a log, I can tip and tilt and turn to access the different parts of it. But if these are all individual pieces, it becomes much more difficult to access things. So this machine will hold the ends and, like a totem on a great big spit, make it so I can rotate it a little bit. And then when the carving is complete, we'll be able to disassemble, take each individual beam to the install site and put them in that way. I've also intentionally made space between the wood, partly to really highlight the fact that it's different, that it's not trying to be the same thing. But it also, those spaces between them also offer some opportunities to light from the inside. And I think, like, aesthetically, they draw the eye in a way that is related to a totem, or related to an original old growth totem, but breaks that up and makes it very clear that it's a contemporary take on it. A lot of the work that I do in my artistic practice is kind of looking backwards. The witness blanket looks backwards. A lot of these things that I'm doing around trying to find a different way of making totems is really focused on right now, right? The present. And so I was thinking, like, what does it mean to make a monument for the future? I'm looking at the way technology is sort of made to, like, the designed obsolescence, where we all have to get a new cell phone every 2 years or 3 years. We all have to get new computers because the old ones, not because they don't function anymore, but because the software that drives them doesn't recognize the hardware anymore. So we're sort of in this cycle of waste. And as part of this, I want to be highlighting that, because technology, if we live in good relationship with it, provides solutions. You have to, I think, redesignate the way you think about land. It can't just be property, because when you hear the phrase land back, I think that most people assume that means give back property. For me, it doesn't mean property at all. It means transformation of relationship. It means recognition that we are not above. We are not the lords of land. That we are from the land. We are of the land. And what we do to the land, we do to ourselves. And I think that we're starting to see that in the direction that everything's going with global warming, with climate change. How do we bring the hope that we need when we're facing all sorts of existential issues around climate, around deforestation, social issues around injustice, and the growing gap between rich and poor? One of the ideas is to give the land to the land, and kind of reset our relationship with that particular piece of land, something much closer to my Kwakwaka'wakw ancestors, who we have this word, Owitnakyola, which means to live in good relationship with the land, air, water, spirit worlds, and everything in them.